I'm Cathy Neptune and welcome to my kitchen. I'm going to share tips, tools, and recipes to make your time in the kitchen fun, fast, and fabulous. And as usual, we've got a theme for tonight. Valentine's Day is coming up. And if you wanted to make something special that was kind of elegant, but not too difficult to do, this menu is for you. I think you're really going to learn some interesting techniques and recipes that you'll want to make for your sweetie or your family. They're just really awesome. And we're going to start out tonight with a creamy parmesan rice. Not a risotto, but a rice. And it has the notes of a risotto, but in a really interesting way. So on the stove, oops, I'm going to get a pot holder that gets hot. I'm going to do, here I've sauteed, and you can see in here, in this pot, about 2 tablespoons of butter. And those little toasted pieces are about 3 cloves of garlic. And you want to be very careful with this, that you just put it on low and slow and just toast them. And it's so fragrant. It brings out all the flavors in your garlic. And then you want to grab yourself a bucket of rice, which is actually 1 cup. And you know how I like to build flavors. So I'm going to put 1 cup of rice in there. And I'm just going to toast it on top of the stove again to get all that garlic infused into the rice and kind of toast it. So let's see. And I have my oven preheating because we're going to make dessert after this. And I'm just going to toast this for a few minutes. And again, be very careful because there's garlic in there and you don't want it to burn. Now, to the rice, we're going to do a stovetop. You could certainly do this in the oven. You can do it in the microwave if you'd like, but I thought just to have it simmering away would be good. We're going to add 1 cup of chicken stock. Now, I have a little bit more because we're going to make a sauce with this. But I'm going to use 8 ounces or 1 cup of chicken stock. You can use the boxed kind, the low sodium, homemade, whatever you'd like. And what makes this really interesting, 1 cup of whole milk. And that's going to add a creaminess to your rice when it's done. So we're going to just toast that rice for just about a minute or so. And then we're going to add this. I just want to be careful, like I said, so that it doesn't burn. We're going to bring it up to a simmer, and then we're going to cover it and let it like really, really slow boil for about 20. I would check it after 20 to 30 minutes. Adjust it for seasoning because I've used a salted chicken stock in here. I've also done this where I've added a little bit of white wine to it, which is nice. And then I always cook off the white wine first so that it doesn't curdle the milk. And then I add the chicken stock to it to dilute it a little bit. You want to be careful with that. But just remember, 1-to-1 ratio, 1 cup of rice. And then you use 1 cup of chicken stock and 1 cup of milk for a really nice finished rice. Okay, I think that's pretty good just to get that going. And it's a little toasty. Oh, that garlic smells awesome. So we're going to put in, let's do, it's about perfect. And then stir that around. And then this is, believe it or not, 1 cup, I measured it out, of whole milk. And it almost looks like rice pudding, except the rice has been browned. And then we'll check it after a little bit to see if it needs any more seasoning. So I'm going to put that on the stove. And cover it up and let it simmer. I'm going to put the timer on for about 20 minutes. I think I'll do 22 because I think it's going to take a while because the liquids were cold. If you wanted to speed up that process, you can always warm up your milk and your chicken stock in the microwave. That might be a good idea too if you're in a hurry, but just let it simmer and bubble away. So when we come back, we're going to get our dessert to get it in the oven and then have it cool down and decorate it. So we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. I have my little creamy Parmesan rice cooking, and I want to stir it every once in a while and make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. And if you use kind of a heavy saucepan, it kind of helps not having it stick to the bottom. It kind of ensures that you're going to have a more even cooking on your rice, because you don't want to have it sticking and burning in the bottom. So that's a really good pot that I have. Now, what we're going to do for dessert, I have some little mini cheesecakes that we're making in the oven. And you can double this recipe. I've halved this recipe because we don't want to have too many cheesecakes, but I probably wish I had made the whole recipe. So real easy, and the reason I like doing the small ones, first of all, they're adorable, and they're bite-sized, but they cook a lot faster than if you were to make a larger serving or a larger size whole cheesecake or whatever, and they're just the cutest things. And wait until you see how we decorate it. So in here, in my little mini food processor, and it's going to get noisy here in a minute, I have 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, and then about a 1/3 cup of sugar. Now you can do this sugar-free if you'd like, and just do a sugar substitute, one that's 1-on-1. That would be good. And I always like when I add sugar to a dessert to cream the sugars in with the other ingredients, so you get a finer grain to it. It means some of these little things, you know me, I like the little details that make a huge difference. So I'm just going to pulse this a little bit to incorporate all the sugar and get that graininess out of it. Now you can certainly do this in with a little whisk attachment to a hand mixer, but this works out really good. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of this wonderful vanilla paste, and I'm just going to eyeball it because it's just vanilla. So it's about 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla paste, or you could use liquid vanilla, the same amount. 1/2 teaspoon is fine. And then always remember to crack your egg on a flat surface so that you don't push the shells inside the egg, and you won't have a problem with it. So we're going to put in a whole egg, and I usually have my eggs at room temperature. It just makes a huge difference. They blend better, and it just helps the process because these are going into the oven. And the great thing about this, it only takes 15 minutes to cook these. So I have my oven preheating at 350, and I'm going to just blend this up. So it's just 8 ounces of cream cheese, a 1/3 cup of sugar, an egg, and a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And how easy would that be if you want to double this recipe? And I'm just going to smooth this around the edges to get everything incorporated in there. Because you can see I have lumps that have collected on the side. I just love these little food processors. They're so convenient. And then they go right into the dishwasher when you're done. So nothing is hard about that. That looks pretty darn good. You can see it's fairly liquid. And we're going to put that on the side. And I've prepared ahead of time some little mini muffin papers. And I'm going to spoon this. Oh, I can see all the vanilla paste in there. And I'm only going to fill them to the very top of the little papers that I put in, the little mini papers. About a teaspoon is all you need. And we're doing 12 here, which will be fine. And for the crust, wait until you hear what I did with the crust. I'm not a big fan of graham cracker crusts. I think they're too sweet, and I don't like to do the whole vanilla wafer thing. I don't know. I find they're very sweet, and I like to control the sugar in here because I'm going to make these for my Harry, and he likes to do non-sugar products. So what I did, I took in the blender before I used it, for the cheesecake filling, I did about 3/4 of a cup of cornflakes and about 2 tablespoons of melted butter and about 2 tablespoons of sugar substitute, and I blended them all in the food processor, and I just loaded them into these little cups and tamped them down so they were very, you can see they're kind of stiff in the bottom because I put them in the refrigerator and the butter kind of hardened. So that's a good thing to do. And if you don't know how to tamp these down, I'll give you a little hint. I was looking for the perfect size little thing to press down the crust so it would be nice and smooth. Do you know you can get a carrot and just cut a chunk of carrot out and cut it to find a carrot that kind of fits in there, and you get the perfect little vehicle for tamping down your crumbs at the bottom of a pan. And I've used that technique in all kinds of recipes. So we're going to take this. So we have a little more left. I can make a few more. I'm going to just take these like this, put them in there, and we've got 11.5 minutes left. So I'm going to check these when our rice is done. Excuse my back. So I'm going to remember we have about 11.5 minutes. So about 15 minutes in all should do it. So I'm going to check on my rice that's bubbling away, and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. We have our little mini cheesecakes in the oven, and timer's going to go off at about 11 minutes and 30 seconds. And I'll check them, but they should probably cook about 15 minutes, and then let them come to room temperature. And we're going to decorate them. And because it's a heart-shaped theme for Valentine's Day, I wanted to show you these cute little, well, I think they're cute. I'm not biased, but these little heart-shaped, can you see the strawberries that we did? And I took a little heart-shaped cutter, a little cookie cutter, and you need fairly big ones. And you kind of line it up inside like that, and that should cut off the stem. And I'm going to cut down straight like so. And these are kind of going to set inside of the muffin pan and the little cupcake pan, and when our little cheesecakes are cooled and done. And then what I do is I just take and cut that in half sideways, and you have these cute little heart-shaped strawberries. So let me do another one for you. Again, a little heart-shaped cookie cutter, and you can get these in a set, or you can buy individual ones. Cut them out like so, press them in, and then I just take and cut down the side like so. We have these cute little heart-shaped strawberries. Now, if you didn't have that, here's a quick way to do it. You just cut them like this and cut a V on the top as best you can. See, like so. And then, let's see, you just cut them in half. Oops, I should cut them in half first, and then you cut a little V on the top like that. So you don't need a cookie cutter, but you can make your own like so. No, you can put them this side up. I think they look kind of pretty that way, or you could do them like this. So either way, you can have a nice Valentine's little heart shapes for the top of your mini cheesecakes. And I just think the cheesecakes are kind of fancy, I think, and your guests are going to love them. So we're going to set that aside for when our cheesecakes are done and cooled a little bit. I'm going to check on my rice for a minute and see. Excuse my back. Oh yeah, that's looking good. It's starting to thicken up. It's getting very thick. So I have that on the lowest just to simmer it. And again, check on it to see from time to time. And then, you know, when the rice is done, we're going to stir in some Parmesan cheese that's been finely grated, and then a little bit of, I like to add color, so I have some chopped fresh spinach. And you can totally omit that if you'd like. But it adds color, a little bit more veggies. But again, I wanted to make this fancy, so look what I've done. You're going to love this. This is half of a heart shape that I've done with cherry tomatoes, and I'm going to show you how I did this. So you take a cherry tomato and you cut it at an angle like so, not in half, but just like probably a third or a quarter of the top of your cherry tomato, like so. And you take the cut side down so it's standing up, and you cut it right down the middle like that, and you put the ends together, and you have a heart shape. Can you see how that comes out? I think that's pretty cool. So we're going to put those over here, and you could do yellow tomatoes or whatever other kind that you'd like, but I think the red, of course, because it's Valentine's Day. Again, at an angle like so. Can you see how I'm holding the knife like so, just a little top off the top, cut side down. I'll put this sideways so you can see it's standing up, and then you cut right down from the point to the cut end, and you switch these around to where you cut it off the top, and you put those together, and you have a little heart shape. And we're going to take our rice when we're done, and we're going to present the rice in the center of this. Now, if you didn't want to do hearts like this, you could take just cherry tomatoes and have them and put them all the way around, or you could roast them in the oven, whatever you'd like. But I mean, I just thought this was so cute. So I'm going to kind of straighten it out. I hope that looks like a heart. I think it does. And we're going to get ready to do our chicken, check on our rice, and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Our risotto's almost done. It was a little bit dry, so I added a little more liquid, not stock and not milk. I just added a little water because there's a lot of salt in the chicken stock, and there's going to be more salt in the Parmesan cheese that we add at the end. So I just added probably a quarter cup of water just to make it nice and tender so it's still steaming away. And then let me see how our cheesecakes are doing. Well, those look good. I'm going to put it on for about 4 more minutes. And they're starting to get golden brown. Those are going to be good. And what we're doing is a chicken romantique, if you will. And I have 2 chicken breast halves, and you can see that they're already heart-shaped the way they are. And I took one of them, and I don't know if you can see this, but if you pick it up, it's like a grid design. And the reason I did that is because we're going to season all those little nooks and crannies before we saute it. So I'm going to take and show you how I did it. And it's just to infuse all the flavors. And I'm just going to take on an angle about 1 inch apart, and you don't cut all the way through. You just cut a semi-slice like so, and create a grid. Make sure your knife is very sharp, and open it up and make sure you've cut down about 3/4 of the way through. And you don't really have to do this little flap at the end, just slightly because of the different thicknesses. This will also help assure that all the cooking is going to be very even. So then I'm going to go on the diagonal and do 1 inch this way. And this is a great technique whenever you do chicken. Even fried chicken I like to do this way because you want to get all the seasonings in there. So I'm going to raise up my knife a little bit so it kind of opens up. Or you can lay this over a glass if you'd like. And I season it with salt and pepper. And I have my skillet heating up here. And I have it on very low. In fact, I'm going to turn it off so the butter doesn't burn. I have olive oil, fresh rosemary, a little bit of butter, and a few green onions. So I'm going to put salt and some pepper. And we're going to do the other one while I have that out. You don't have to be too fussy with this, but it's kind of cool when you have the finished product. And just kind of raise it up a little bit on the knife, and a little bit of salt, some pepper. Because we're going to dredge this in some flour afterwards. And then you can never have too much flavor, so I have some a little bit of roasted garlic, salt or powder. Just a little over the top. And then onion powder. And in this little dish over here, I have some flour. Here's another secret. Well, it's not a secret anymore because I'm going to tell you what I do when I dredge my chicken for frying. I even do this for pork chops. I take and I add a little bit of cornstarch in here along with the flour. And I'm just going to tuck this in, and I'm kind of squeezing this together so it kind of opens up. And pressing it in there. And our oil is all heated up. So I'm going to drop this right into our skillet. I'm going to put a little more flour where I missed some spots. We're going to do the other chicken. It's kind of funky looking, but I'll tell you, it's a great technique for getting crispy chicken. And that cornstarch makes a big difference. They use a lot of that in cooking in Oriental recipes. They really incorporate that starch, cornstarch, in for the crispy elements to whatever they're frying, and that's what gives it a nice finish. So we're going to put that there. Turn up the heat a little bit so it fries, and you just want to basically cook it through to both sides. So we're going to clean this up. Oh, our time is going off. I think our mini cheesecakes are done. Let me take a peek and see how they're doing. Oh, they look a little pale. I'm going to cook them for about, let's do 3 minutes and 25 seconds. I don't know why, but that just sounds good to me. So those are in the oven. I'm going to check on our risotto. There's a lot of little steps to this, but it certainly is not complicated. It's a quick and easy dinner. And you should be able to do this in 30 minutes and do a little bit of prep ahead of time too. So we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. I've taken our little mini cheesecakes out of the oven. Look at how beautifully they came out. And they just lift out if you use those little mini muffin papers. They're the perfect size. And don't forget to double this recipe if you're doing them for your whole family, because this recipe is so easy to half. It's just cream cheese, 8 ounces of cream cheese, or double it, a 1/3 cup of sugar, teaspoon of vanilla, and an egg. So you're good to go. So I took that out. And I'm going to let those cool before I decorate them with remember the fresh strawberries we did in a heart shape. And I want to show you our chicken that we're doing here in the skillet. And you can see little bits of rosemary, which I brought in from my gardens, try and winter them over. So fresh rosemary, a little green onion, and all that goodness is in between these little pockets that we've done. And I've kind of, you can see the little green onions. And I use the white part because I think they have a lot of flavor. But look at how golden brown. Remember, we added cornstarch, probably 3/4 cup flour and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch in there. And when we dredge it, that's what you get. So we're just going to put that back over here and let them cook. Let's check on our rice. I'm going to turn off my stove, and I'm going to get our rice, see how that's doing. looks just like risotto. Now let me get a spoon so you can see. Look at how creamy and soft that is. Looks just like risotto, and I'm going to check it for seasoning. Make sure we have everything in there that we need. Because you want the rice to be soft. You don't want it al dente. That's good. That is going to be good. And I'm going to add a little bit more water. Just a wee bit more. And I'm going to add to this, I'm going to add some spinach. Well, that's probably another 1/4 cup. And all rices are different. And you can certainly use arborio rice, but when you use this method with a little bit of whole milk, it makes it creamy. So you don't really need to have a special rice to infuse this flavor and texture as you would in arborio rice. So you could do this at any time as long as you have rice and some parmesan. So just going to put that back just to come up to room temperature. Let me see how these guys are doing. Yeah, I think we can add our strawberries to that. These are so darn cute. So I'm going to put these in the front. And we're just going to take a little heart shape and put it right on the top. Look at how cute these are. They look just like little hearts. Like you spent a little time for your sweetie or your family. And why not make it pretty, make it special when you can. Put them on a pretty serving tray. And I would get, when you go to the supermarket, I would look for larger size strawberries. They just work better than the tiny ones to make sure you're able to get the shape of the heart on the strawberries. Those look good enough to eat. And who doesn't love cheesecake? And like I said, I did these with sugar-free substitutes, but you'll never know the difference because they are so good. And that vanilla bean paste, I don't know if you've ever tried. If you have always used, even if it's the real vanilla that's in a liquid form, try the vanilla bean paste. It's so different. It's like a high-level brandy, if you will. It does make a difference. It really and truly does. So those are our little heart-shaped mini cheesecakes. How pretty is that? And let me check on our chicken here. All those little nooks and crannies are holding on to the liquid that comes out of the chicken, so it kind of self-bastes itself, which makes this so good and so juicy. And chicken breasts can be a little dry and tough if you don't treat them with a little respect. So you try this and you can almost see the juices coagulating on top. And I think they're probably done. I'm going to check and see. And I'm going to show them to you so you can see how brown and good they look. And then we're going to make a little reduction sauce. But can you see in here the juices that are collecting in between these little crevices that we've made in our chicken? So I just want to make sure I turn this one more time just to make sure I get all the sides. Oh, it's falling apart. It's so juicy. And the challenge here is to make sure that you cook the thickest part. And if you notice when I do this, you kind of alternate, put the thick side on one side in your pan and the thin side on the other so they're opposite. And they should fit very nicely. You could do this on the grill or a griddle, but I like it in a skillet because we're going to make a sauce. We're going to keep those warm and then do a sauce reduction. So those should take about, I'd say, 3 more minutes. We're going to come back and make a nice, easy, flavorful sauce, and our risotto will be done as well. So we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. Our risotto is done, but I want to take, and our chicken is done too, and I want to take it off the heat and cover it to keep it warm while we make our very simple pan sauce, because there's a lot of flavors in here. So we're going to cover that up. Like so. And then to our pan, look at these wonderful juices that we have. First I'm going to add a little bit of white wine just to deglaze all that, what they call fond, which is French for flavor, I think. Just swirl it around, cook off all the alcohol. Look at how beautiful that is. Just swirl it around. And that, you can see how much of that has evaporated. Add a little bit of chicken stock that we saved. I have a little lemon zest there for flavor. I'm just going to let that simmer away to get all the flavor in that. On very low heat. How simple was that? I mean, if you didn't want to use white wine, and use a good wine that you would drink, just use all chicken stock because, again, it's flavor. Don't just use water. It's always good to add flavor. And then I'm going to take, well, that's reducing. Look at that beautiful, creamy risotto. And I'm going to take and add about half a cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese, because you can never have too much cheese. And to mimic a risotto, that's the way you do it. So we're going to fold that in like so. This smells so good, all the garlic and the herbs. And then, because we can, for color, I'm going to add in a good handful of chopped fresh spinach. And this kind of wilts down. I wouldn't cook it with there because it gets limp and wimpy. You don't want wimpy spinach. So I'm just going to fold that in and let the heat of the pan absorb into that and wilt it down just perfectly. And that way it retains a nice verdant green color, so it looks fresh. Look at how beautiful that looks. Now, is there anything here that you couldn't do? I don't think so. We're going to cover that up. Just let it set for a minute. And then I've chopped up some fresh herbs over here. And if you have strawberries left over, I do a strawberry spinach salad that is amazing. And we're going to plate our risotto on here. And a little pan sauce is going nicely. Let me crank that up a little bit just to thicken it. And because we did flour in, remember when we breaded the chicken breasts, when we put them in there, it has a little flour coating. That helps thicken it. And if it's not thick enough, you can always add a little flour from your dredging mix that we dip the chicken into and cook it down really well. And that'll help thicken your sauce. But this is going to be kind of like an au jus type of sauce. So we're going to take our arborio rice with the Parmesan cheese, and hopefully I can get this right inside that heart shape that we spent so much time doing. And if this doesn't make a good presentation, I don't know what does, but all these little things that show that you cared, it's a meaningful holiday, that's just really nice. And hey, who knows, maybe next time you'll go out for dinner and you don't have to cook. But this is just something you can do, and it's easy, and it's fun, and it is so beautiful. And of course there's extra. Clean up the plate because I made a mess on the last spoonful, of course. And that reheats very well in the microwave too. In case you have leftovers, which I highly doubt. And here's our chicken breast. And of course, if you put these together, they should be heart-shaped. So we're going to put one on one side and one. Let's flip that over this way so that it looks like a heart-shaped chicken breast. As it looks so far, so good. I think that's a meal. Take our beautiful bronze wine glaze and pour this. I can smell the wine and the rosemary and the herbs. And you can serve a little on the side if you'd like. But that is a winner chicken dinner. A little bit of parsley and chives for the top. Go crazy around the edges because you put all that work into it. That is, and I would call that chicken romantique because that is a beautiful, beautiful presentation. You have your vegetables with the spinach inside the risotto, which isn't really, but it's going to taste just like a risotto. Your beautiful cherry tomatoes. You can even cut the cherry tomatoes in half if you didn't want to do heart shape and line all the fresh tomatoes. You have your rice, your sauce, your chicken, everything in one, and our beautiful little mini cheesecakes with fresh strawberries on the top, shaped like little hearts. I hope you try these recipes. Thank you to everybody who writes in. And all your successes trying these recipes makes me feel really like I've made a contribution to your dinners and your recipes as well. So keep those coming. Thank you so much for watching. Try these recipes, and may the fork be with you.